for the Empire! Inform the shipyards they need to increase their production. That was just the initial assault. When the Borg return, it will be in force. My Klingon warriors, let us make sure they will sing songs of this day.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Star Trek Armada. Today we will be with the first episode with the Klingons. It's basically going to be a pretty standard anti-Borg mission. We're looking to defend this sector.
Yes.
Here we have General Martok in his, Chancellor Martok in his Naekvar, which is the most powerful ship that the Klingons can build. We also have a few Vulture-class attack cruisers and I think a couple of birds of prey here. So, first thing to do is get the dilithium mining operation up and running and get it defended. You'll notice that Vulture's and Martok's Naekvar actually. Martok's Naekvar is unique in this aspect. It can actually cloak, whereas the standard Naekvar can't. All Vulture class cruisers can cloak.
Station construction has begun.
I'm just building a second construction ship here so I can get stuff built up at the second base. And now I'm going to cloak my birds of prey and send them off on a scouting mission, because really that's pretty much all they're good for. For the most part we're going to be defending against the Borg for a while. We're not going to go on the offensive for a little bit of time. This will also be the first appearance of Borg's special weapons.
Our base is under attack.
You won't have seen any in the last Federation mission, but you will see them in this mission. See, we've got the Diamond, and Borg ship you may not have seen before. This is the Assimilator. Its special weapon is essentially a blue tractor beam which pulls crew off whichever ship that it is targeting with it. I decide not to nick the Diamond this time. I certainly could do, but I decided it wasn't worth it at this point. One of the Klingons' best traits actually in this game is the fact that I think they are actually the best race at attacking other ships, although the Borg may be slightly better. But they're certainly very good at attacking the crew on other ships. So if you thought that I stole ships as the Federation, you have no idea what I'm going to do as the Klingons.
Ready for battle.
Again, this initial force that I have is more than enough to fend off whatever the Borg are throwing at me immediately.
A battle has begun.
It's weird that interceptors do that little spinny thing. Anyway, that's the assimilation beam that you can see from the intercept there. It basically beams crew off your ship and onto the and adds them to the assimilator's crew, which isn't very nice at all, really. It's a pretty nasty ability overall, especially if there's multiple of them around. As I mentioned when I was playthroughing the Federation missions, you really need to make sure that your crew are kept to a high level when you're fighting against the Borg, because they really do a number on your crew in this game.
New battle station is coming.
It's very easy, especially if you try and take over Borg ships as well. It's very easy in this game for you to end up with ships with very little crew on them, so you end up in a bit of a messy situation. I'm going to nick this sphere for now. Oh no, I'm not. It's going to blow up. Oh well. That didn't quite go as planned, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of other opportunities. this is kind of where this game falls over a little. Is if you were expecting it to sort of really stick to Star Trek canon, you're going to be pretty disappointed. The main reason with this comes down to me a lot to it basically comes down a lot to the fact that games on the whole have to be balanced. You know, it has to be fair to play any side, as you'll see in games like StarCraft, etc., where occasionally a race might get slightly overpowered, or people think that it's overpowered, but it's generally all pretty well balanced. The problem is, in Star Trek canon, the Borg are not balanced at all. So therefore, if you want to include them in a game, especially as a playable enemy, you have to just ignore the canon, because otherwise the Borg are just way too overpowered. And here's the first attack of a Borg cube, the most well-known Borg ship, obviously. And we're going to do something here that would never have been attempted in the canon. We're going to try and steal a Borg cube. We've got a bit lucky there, because the Borg ship's life support system has been disabled, so its drones are dying at a rate of knots, so we're not doing too bad. But it still takes an awful lot of effort to take one of these over. But back on my original point there, basically there's just no way that you can include the Borg in a game if it has to be balanced, in my opinion. I think a lot of Star Trek games would have been immeasurably improved by simply dropping the Borg. Alright, cool factor, and yes, or the Borg are cool for sure, but they just don't make for a good game. And the problem is, the more you include them, as what happened on Voyager, the more you start including them in spots, the more you have to sort of expose their weaknesses, and they lose the fact that they're basically, you know, they were designed to be this overwhelmingly powerful enemy, and they just turn out at the end into basically just another powerful enemy. You know, they lost a lot of the mystique and mystery that surrounded them when they basically became just another enemy. Well, that's my rant on the Borg done anyway for this game. So you can still enjoy this game, just don't expect it to really stick to the Star Trek canon as much as you'd hope, because it's just not on the in the name of balance, it has to sacrifice that, basically. What I've done here is expand to the third dilithium moon on the right hand side. The Borg will never threaten that. And I'm just making sure once again that all my ships have maximum crew on them, because the cube especially has an extremely nasty special weapon, and I do not want my crews to be caught with no crew on them when the Borg come knocking again.
We are Klingons!
Well, basically my tactic for this mission when facing Borg cubes is essentially to try and steal them, because I don't have the ability to build the Klingon equivalent, which I suppose would be the Naekvar. I don't have the ability to build that on this mission, so in order to have the extra firepower around, I'm just going to keep stealing Borg cubes, essentially.
Immediately.
Just plonking the starbase down here at this dilithium moon. It's not really necessary. I still find it quite funny to have a Borg cube responding with Klingon responses, but that's one thing you can always enjoy from this game. The starbase isn't really necessary, but it will refill my crew an awful lot quicker as well, so we'll be in a position really just to consistently recrew our ships, even if we are taking over stuff like Borg cubes. So overall this is going pretty well, and I'm just building Vulture class ships mainly. I do start building the Sukjar class ship, which is essentially a torpedo carrier, but I don't really use those tremendously well, and I think overall I prefer the Vulture class ship, especially with its Polaron torpedo secondary weapon. Just on that note, the Polaron torpedo, which the Vulture uses, I think it may have been seen before. I think in the mission that we did with the Federation as Worf, but just to reiterate, it goes straight through opponents' shields and disables one of their subsystems, so it's always useful in some way. Borg attacking again. Yeah, it's always useful in some way, the Polaron torpedo. Obviously, if it disables the shields, it's going to mean the ship or station's easier to destroy. If it disables the engines, they're stuck. That's probably the worst thing for it to disable, but it does mean they're just stuck around doing nothing. And if you disable life support, the crew die, making the ship easy to take over.
Reinforcements are coming.
Disable the sensors. That's probably the worst thing, actually. Engine's probably second worst thing. If you disable the sensors, the ship just can't see round it, so I suppose it has a bit of a problem firing back. As you can see, we found another Borg base up here. And if you destroy the weapon systems, then again the ship's just a sitting duck. Another Borg attack going on here, and it's just a couple of spears, so the starbase and the waiting fleet will see that they are taken care of. As you can see, I've built a... oh no, this is the main base. I thought this was the point where I'd built a second starbase. I did do that, but obviously I haven't done that yet. Again, even though the Borg are certainly attacking with a lot more force than they did in the previous mission with the Federation, they're still not attacking anywhere near big enough numbers or with advanced enough weaponry for us to really be threatened by it. I think the starbase in the sector, which is what we're supposed to protect in this mission, I think that could probably take pretty much anything that the Borg throw at it. As you can see, the sphere is now remaining outside of weapon range of the starbase and transporter range, but that's not really doing it any good. It's just going to sit there and die to the disruptor cannon, it looks like, so overall not too smart.
A Klinger can die but once. Our base is under attack.
Incoming cube. I'm going to make another attempt to steal this, I think. That's the cube's holding beam right there. That is a horrible weapon. Like the assimilator, it grabs the other ship and immobilizes it so it can't get away. But unlike the assimilator, instead of transporting crew off it, it actually transports crew from the cube onto the other ship. So it's... and with the fact that the Borg are the best race for attacking other races' crew, and the fact that the cube has more crew than any other ship in the game bar none, usually if a cube grabs another ship with a holding beam, that ship is going to end up being assimilated. Unfortunately, it looks like this cube's going to get away. So basically the Borg cube is still the most powerful ship in the game by quite a long distance, but it's mainly due to the fact it has such a massive amount of crew, and it has a really nasty specialist weapon. In terms of raw firepower, a cube against even a Sovereign class ship's going to have a bit of a problem in this game, so therefore, as you can see, the canon of the game really starts falling apart at that point. But I suggest that really you just take it as a Star Trek themed real-time strategy rather than any kind of addition to the canon, and you'll just enjoy the game a heck of a lot more. So we've got the first attack here on a Borg mining facility. I'm just going to take this down and try my best to cut the Borg off from whatever they're doing. That was the Polaron torpedo right there, pretty much pointless, but always fun to use. The Suckjar's commando team I have never got the hang of using, and will probably just give up on trying to use it, to be fair. You'll see a bit later in the mission how bad I am at using that. I'm going to try and take over this dilithium refinery. Usually what happens when you take over a building is that you get a view of all the enemies. You get a view of some of the enemy's stuff. At least I think that was what was supposed to happen, but I may not be correct on that one. But for whatever reason on this one it didn't happen, so sadly I don't get to see everything that the Borg have, but whatever. And we'll just destroy these Borg reinforcements. I'm going to shut up for a bit now and just let you watch some of the action, and I'll be back in a little bit.
For Kalis! We need repairs! We need repairs! Let us get to work! Beginning construction. For Kalis! Our base is under attack. The battle has begun. Ready for battle! A Klingon can die but once. We have a new ship for the fleet.
Excellent, another cube for the fleet. You will actually have noticed during that the Borg cube was successful in assimilating a Suckjar. I don't know where that's... Oh, it's down there at the bottom of the screen with everything disabled. Fortunately, the Borg weren't too clever at actually keeping the ship alive, so it's now just a dead derelict in space, and I will take that back over. But that's just an example of how nasty the Borg cube can be. I'm just going to reinforce this area so no further shenanigans with the Borg can happen, and we've got another dilithium moon for us. At this point you'll actually realise that my macro, if you're familiar with that term from StarCraft etc., you'll notice that my macro is awful. My dilithium is really high. My crew is also really high. A big difference between this game and a game like, say, StarCraft or Warcraft is that queuing up units doesn't actually cost any money. You only pay for queued up units when they start being built, so whereas in StarCraft or Warcraft, queuing up's a pretty big sign that you're not a very good player, because you're going to end up spending money and not getting anything for it. In Star Trek Armada, queuing up is actually perfectly fine, and to be honest, everything should be queued up most of the time, because otherwise you're just not building enough stuff usually, and this is what's happened here. I've reached the point where I can support multiple shipyards, and I've still only got the one or two, and this shipyard isn't building, so overall macro pretty terrible, but not really going to have much of an effect on the outcome here, because I'm just mowing through the Borg defences now. You'll see that the Suckjars only fire torpedoes. I think their place in the tech tree is the same as where the Federation has the Steamrunner class ship and the Borg have the Assimilator. It's a lot more similar to the Assimilator than the Steamrunner class ship, certainly.
New battle station is complete.
We are Klingons!
I would still say that overall I preferred the Vulture class ship, though.
Station construction has begun.
Building another star base as well here, so basically at every place where I'm going to take over a dilithium moon, I'm going to build a dilithium refinery and a star base, and then just move on from there. So basically massive reinforcements of crew and well protected. You can just build torpedo turrets, it's really up to you, but at the moment I've got so much dilithium at my disposal that it really doesn't matter what I do. This mission really does result in an awful lot of overkill, even though you can't build the top tech units.
The battle has begun.
Here comes another cube. And here's where I find the error of the suck jar, I believe. You'll notice that when you transport over to other ships, your ships will stop firing, while when you use the commando team, your ships will actually start firing. So, I don't know what the problem with that is. Maybe they fire the 40 most hated people on the ship over to the ship that's about to be destroyed. That seems to maybe make a little sense, but it doesn't make capturing the ships any easier, and to be honest, I'd just use transporters for the most part.
A Klingon can die but once.
I'm using some sensor arrays here just to make sure that I have prior warning of anything that's coming. But at this point it's time to start really hunting the Borg down now and beginning the long slow march to victory. And I believe we're about to go after their first building centre now, so I will let you enjoy.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Wreak havoc!
The battle has begun.
Yes? Destroy the cowards!
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Yes? Choo!
Victory will be ours.
We have a new ship for the fleet.
For Caliph!
The battle has begun.
Ready for battle! Choo! For Caliph! For Caliph!
We have a new ship for the fleet.
We will drive them before us.
Yeah, that was the battle which basically forced me to abandon the commando team completely and just go for more normal attack paths.
Ready for battle! To battle! Destroy the cowards!
The battle has begun.
Looks like someone has some ideas of trying to pick off some of my ships while they're recrewing. Well, we'll have to say something about that.
You feel 1,000 deaths by fearing one.
There is no more dilithium here.
Salvage this ship.
Excellent.
Salvage this ship.
Yes?
The battle has begun.
A Klingon can die but once.
That cube caused a hell of a mess, but it is now one with the Klingons.
Ready for battle.
You'll notice it managed to disable another Vulture, but we will get that back into the fleet and be back up and running for yet another run at the Borg. With one of their main areas that isn't... Well, their main shipbuilding areas now fallen, they're not really going to pose a tremendous threat, so it's time for a bit of a mop-up, I think.
The battle has begun.
A Klingon can die but once.
New battle station is complete.
Ready for battle.
Our base is under attack. The battle has begun.
For Kalis.
And this is the first appearance of Martok's iron cannon shot. And you'll notice yet one shot from it pretty much collapsed the shields of an assimilator. It's basically just a really powerful torpedo weapon. Really useful against star bases and other targets that have an awful lot of shielding. Anyway, this is going to be the main attack, I think, on what I can see anyway, and it's pretty much going to be a wipeout.
For Kalis. Ready for battle. Yes. For Kalis. Ready for battle. To battle. Don't Just show me where.
The battle has begun. Salvage this ship.
A Klingon can die but once. Ready for battle.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
for battle! We havoc! Ready for battle!
So is that the last base then? Is this going to be the end of the Borg in this sector?
A battle has begun.
Well, doesn't look like it. Oh, look what I found. Especially with all my ships scouting in the other direction.
Very well.
So now I'm just going to get all my ships back to this area, as you can see by the flood of white on the bottom of the screen. And we're just going to trample all over this Borg base. There's still going to be a couple of stragglers at the end, but I've cut out the search for them. And I'm going to let you guys enjoy this, the final major battle of this episode, and the first episode of the Klingon campaign. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.
Ready for battle!
There is no more dilithium here.
Ready for battle! Very well!
A battle has begun.
For Caliph!
Jol Chu!
Ready for battle! A Klingon can die but once! For Caliph! Ready for battle!
A battle has begun.
For Caliph! Havoc! For Caliph!
Victory will be ours.
Destroy the cowards!
A battle has begun.
We havoc!
Yes? The battle has begun.
A Klingon can die but once. Very well. Ready for battle.
Chancellor Martok, all Borg ships in the sector have been destroyed. We are victorious.
Then the day is ours. Contact the homeworld. Find out why our support fleet has not arrived. And send a message to the Federation. Inform them that Chancellor Martok has driven the Borg from the Gamma Eridon system.